It's the 23rd of the month. You have $186 in your checking account and 7 days until payday. Your brain immediately starts calculating. Gas to get to work for the week, maybe $40. Groceries for 7 days if you're careful, maybe $70. That leaves $76 for everything else that might come up. You're walking through the grocery store doing mental math on every item you put in the cart. You skip buying the good coffee because it's $3 more. You're checking your bank balance twice a day just to make sure nothing unexpected posted. And when your friend texts about grabbing dinner this weekend, you say you're busy because you can't admit you're counting every dollar until Friday. This is the paycheck to paycheck cycle, and you're exhausted from living it. You make decent money, but you never feel secure. You're always one unexpected expense away from panic. And here's what nobody tells you. Breaking free from this cycle doesn't just change your bank balance, it changes absolutely everything about how you experience life, make decisions, and feel about your future. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly what changes when you finally stop living paycheck to paycheck. And more importantly, I'll give you the roadmap to get there so you can experience these transformations yourself. My name is Max, and I want to help you learn how to make your money work more for you in your life. Today, I'm revealing the specific psychological, practical, and life quality changes that happen when you break the paycheck to paycheck cycle, so you'll understand what you're actually working toward and have the motivation to push through the hard part of getting there. So let's get started, and please make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Here's the thing. Before we talk about what changes when you break free, we need to be crystal clear about what living paycheck to paycheck actually means, because it's not just about income. According to a 2023 report by Lending Club, approximately 64% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. But here's what's shocking. This includes 45% of people earning over $100,000 per year. This isn't a poverty problem. It's a financial structure problem. Living paycheck to paycheck means you have less than 1 month's expenses and savings. An unexpected $500 to $1,000 expense creates genuine financial stress. You regularly check your bank balance to make sure you can afford purchases. You count days until payday. You make financial decisions based on what's in your account right now, not what's best long term. The psychology of this lifestyle is brutal. According to research from Princeton and Harvard on scarcity mindset, financial stress literally impairs cognitive function. When you're worried about money constantly, you perform worse at work, make poor decisions, and experience higher rates of anxiety and depression. You're operating in permanent survival mode, and survival mode is exhausting. Okay, the first thing that changes when you stop living paycheck to paycheck is your entire decision-making framework shifts from scarcity to abundance. When you're paycheck to paycheck, every financial decision is filtered through the lens of, can I afford this right now? You're not thinking about whether something is a good value or aligns with your goals. You're thinking about whether your checking account can handle it this week. This creates what psychologists call tunneling. Your focus narrows to immediate survival, and you lose the ability to think long-term. But when you have a buffer, even just $2,000 to $3,000 in savings, your brain shifts. You're no longer making decisions from desperation. You can think about what's best long-term instead of just what gets you through today. Let me give you a real example. When you're paycheck to paycheck and your car needs tires, you buy the cheapest tires available for $280 because that's what you can afford right now. Those tires last 25,000 miles. But when you have a buffer, you can spend $480 on quality tires that last 60,000 miles. You spend $200 more up front, but save money over the life of the tires. More importantly, you don't have the stress of replacing them as frequently. This is where it gets really interesting. Research from behavioral economics shows that people operating from scarcity pay a poverty tax. They end up spending 20 to 30% more over time on the same goods and services because they can't afford to buy quality, buy in bulk, or wait for sales. When you break the paycheck to paycheck cycle, you stop paying this tax. Life gets cheaper because you can make smarter decisions. The psychological shift. Additionally, this abundance mindset affects everything, not just money. You negotiate harder for raises because you're not desperate. You take calculated career risks because you have runway. You invest in your health and education because you can think beyond next week. Your entire life expands when you're no longer operating from scarcity. The second major change is that financial emergencies stop being catastrophic and start being merely annoying. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, an $800 car repair is a crisis. It means credit card debt, missed payments on other bills, or borrowing from family. It creates a stress cascade that takes months to recover from. According to data from the Federal Reserve, 40% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency with cash or savings. That means almost half the country is perpetually one moderate expense away from financial disaster. But when you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved, let's say $12,000 to $18,000, that same $800 car repair is frustrating, but it's not a crisis. You transfer money from savings, pay the mechanic, and move on with your life. No panic, no debt, no stress spiral. Let me show you the math on how this changes your life. Scenario A, paycheck to paycheck, car repair, $800, no savings, so put it on credit card at 22% interest. Making $50 per month payment takes 19 months to pay off. Total paid, $950, $150 in interest. Psychological cost, 19 months of stress and guilt. Scenario B, buffer in place, car repair, $800. Pay from savings immediately. Replenish savings over next 2 months by saving an extra $400 per month. Total paid, $800. Psychological cost, minimal. Inconvenience only. You're not just saving $150 in interest. You're saving months of mental anguish and financial stress. Seriously, the peace of mind that comes from knowing you can handle normal life emergencies without panic is worth more than the dollar amount in your savings account. The third transformation is that you can finally shift from defense to offense, from just surviving to actually building wealth. Here's what most people don't realize. You cannot build wealth while living paycheck to paycheck. It's mathematically impossible. Every dollar you earn goes to immediate expenses or debt payments. There's nothing left to invest, nothing left to compound, nothing left to grow. But once you have a financial buffer and you're no longer in survival mode, you can start redirecting money toward investments that actually build long-term wealth. Let's say it takes you 18 months to build a $5,000 emergency fund. During those 18 months, you were saving about $280 per month, but it all went to the emergency fund. Once the emergency fund hits $5,000, you don't stop saving that $280 per month. You redirect it. Now it goes to a Roth IRA or a brokerage account invested in index funds. If you invest $280 per month for the next 30 years at an 8% average return, that grows to approximately $389,000. That's the wealth you couldn't build while living paycheck to paycheck. But the second you break that cycle, the same saving habit that built your emergency fund now builds your retirement. The compound effect. Also, once you start building wealth, the psychological shift is massive. You're no longer just trying to not be poor. You're actively building a future where you have options, freedom, and security. According to research on financial well-being, people with at least $10,000 in liquid savings report significantly higher life satisfaction, better sleep, better relationships, and better job performance than people with less than $1,000. The emergency fund isn't just about emergencies. It's about the mental space to think, plan, and build. The fourth change is one that people don't talk about enough. Your relationship with your job and career completely transforms. When you're paycheck to paycheck, you're trapped. You need every single paycheck to survive. This means you can't leave a toxic work environment because you need the income. You can't negotiate aggressively for raises because you're afraid they'll fire you. You can't take career risks or pursue opportunities that might temporarily reduce income. You stay in jobs you hate because you have no choice. But when you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved, work becomes a choice instead of a survival requirement. You can leave a job that's destroying your mental health and take a month to find something better. You can negotiate harder because you're not desperate. If they don't meet your number, you can walk. You can take a strategic career move that reduces income short term but increases it dramatically long term. Let me give you a real example. My friend David was making $68,000 in a soul-crushing corporate job. He wanted to switch to a different field, but it would require taking a $52,000 starting position for a year while he learned. When he was paycheck to paycheck, this was impossible, but after he built a $15,000 emergency fund, he could afford to take the pay cut because he had runway. He took the new job, and within 3 years, he was making $95,000 in a career he actually enjoyed. The emergency fund didn't just give him financial security, it gave him career mobility, the psychological freedom. Additionally, when you're not financially desperate, your work performance actually improves. Research shows that financial stress impairs focus, creativity, and problem solving. When that stress is removed, you're a better employee, which leads to better opportunities and higher income. The irony is that breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle makes it easier to earn more money. The fifth transformation is that you stop making decisions based on fear and desperation and start making them based on logic and long-term value. When you're paycheck to paycheck, fear drives every financial decision. You stay with the same insurance company for years because switching feels risky, even though you're overpaying. You don't shop around for better rates on anything because you can't risk a gap in service. You avoid investing because losing money feels terrifying when you have none to lose. You buy the cheapest version of everything, even when quality would save money long term. But when you have financial stability, you can make rational decisions based on value instead of fear. You can switch to a cheaper insurance provider because you have savings to cover any gap. You can invest in the stock market because short-term volatility doesn't threaten your survival. You can buy quality items that last instead of cheap items that break. The math. Here's an example of how fear-based decisions cost you. Fear-based. Stick with current car insurance at $185 per month because switching feels complicated and risky. Logic-based. Spend 30 minutes comparing quotes, switch to a better rate at $135 per month, save $50 per month or $600 per year. Over 10 years, that's $6,000 saved just by making one calm, rational decision instead of a fear-based one. Multiply this across every area of your finances. And fear-based decision-making costs you tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. The sixth change is one that people don't expect. Your actual physical and mental health improve when you stop living paycheck to paycheck. According to research from the American Psychological Association, financial stress is the #1 source of stress in America, outranking work stress, health concerns, and relationship issues. Chronic financial stress leads to higher rates of anxiety and depression, increased risk of heart disease and high blood pressure, sleep disorders, weakened immune system, higher rates of substance abuse. When you break the paycheck to paycheck cycle, this stress evaporates. You sleep better because you're not lying awake at 2 a.m. worried about bills. Your blood pressure drops. Your relationships improve because money fights decrease. Seriously, the health benefits of financial stability are so significant that some researchers argue that building an emergency fund should be considered a public health intervention. Okay, now let's talk about how you actually get there, because understanding what changes is motivating, but you need a concrete plan. Breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle requires 2 things: building a buffer and changing your financial structure. Phase 1. Build your starter emergency fund, $1,000 to $2,000. This is your first goal. Get $1,000 to $2,000 in a separate savings account as fast as possible. How? Cut discretionary spending to bare minimum temporarily. Sell things you don't need. Pick up extra hours or side work. Direct all extra money to this fund. For most people, this takes 2 to 4 months of intense focus. It's not fun, but it's temporary, and it's essential. Phase 2. Eliminate high-interest debt while maintaining the starter fund. Once you have your starter fund, attack high-interest debt, credit cards, payday loans, aggressively using the avalanche method, while keeping the $1,000 to $2,000 buffer intact. Why this order matters: if you pay off debt first with no buffer, the first emergency sends you right back into debt. The starter fund breaks that cycle. Phase 3. Build your full emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses. Once high interest debt is gone, redirect those payments to building a full emergency fund. Calculate your monthly essential expenses and multiply by 3 to 6. For most people, this is $10,000 to $25,000. At $500 per month savings, hitting $15,000 takes 30 months. That feels like forever. But remember, every month you're getting closer and your financial stress is decreasing in real time. Phase 4, maintain the buffer and start investing. Once your emergency fund is fully funded, you've officially broken the paycheck to paycheck cycle. Now you split future savings between maintaining the emergency fund and investing for long-term wealth. Timeline reality check. From paycheck to fully funded emergency fund typically takes 3 to 5 years of consistent effort. I know that seems long, but consider you're going to experience those 3 to 5 years anyway. The question is whether you emerge financially secure or still stressed. Additionally, let me paint a picture of what your life actually looks like once you've broken this cycle. Monday morning, your check engine light comes on. Old you would panic. New you calls the mechanic, gets it diagnosed, $120, needs a $650 repair. You authorize it, pay from savings, replenish over the next month. Total emotional impact, mild annoyance. Total financial impact, manageable. Wednesday, you get an unexpected medical bill for $380. You pay it from your HSA or savings. No payment plan, no stress, done. Friday, your boss is being unreasonable. Old you would tolerate it because you need the paycheck. New you calmly pushes back because you have 6 months of expenses saved. If they fire you, they won't. You have time to find something better. Next month, a friend invites you to a weekend trip that costs $400. You check your discretionary budget, see you have room, and say yes without anxiety. 6 months later, an opportunity to switch careers appears. It requires taking a temporary pay cut from $70,000 to $58,000 for 1 year. You can do it because you have the buffer. 3 years later, you're making $95,000 in a career you love. This is what changes everything. Look, I know that if you're currently living paycheck to paycheck, the idea of having $15,000 in savings and no high interest debt feels impossibly far away. I know the path from here to there looks long and difficult. I know you're probably thinking about all the obstacles. Your rent is too high. Your income is too low. You have too much debt. Life keeps throwing emergencies at you. But here's what I need you to understand. Every single person who has broken this cycle started exactly where you are. They felt the same stress. They counted the same days until payday. They panicked over the same unexpected expenses. The difference is they made a decision, a real, committed decision, to break the cycle, and they followed through even when it was hard. And here's the truth. Staying in the paycheck to paycheck cycle is also hard. It's hard to constantly stress about money. It's hard to make fear-based decisions. It's hard to feel trapped in your job. It's hard to decline opportunities because you can't afford them. You're going to experience difficulty either way. The question is whether you experience the difficulty of building something better or the difficulty of staying trapped in the same cycle for the next 20 years. If this video showed you what your life could actually look like once you break free from the paycheck to paycheck trap, here's what I want you to do. First, calculate your emergency fund target right now. Add up your essential monthly expenses and multiply by 3. Write that number down. That's your finish line. Second, open a separate savings account this week specifically for your emergency fund. Name it something motivating. Freedom Fund, Break Free Fund. Whatever resonates, make it real. Third, set up an automatic transfer of whatever you can afford, even if it's just $50 to start building this fund. Start the momentum. Fourth, commit to checking your progress monthly. Watch the number grow. Let each increase motivate you to keep going. And finally, share this video with someone you know who's stuck in the paycheck to paycheck cycle. Maybe a friend who's always stressed about money, a family member who works hard but never gets ahead, a coworker who's trapped. Send them this video. You might change their entire life trajectory. If you want a complete roadmap to financial freedom instead of staying stuck in survival mode, subscribe to this channel. Every week, I'm breaking down what actually works versus what just sounds good. Breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle is possible. The life I described, where emergencies are inconveniences, where you have options, where money doesn't dominate your thoughts, that life is available to you, but only if you start building it. Thanks for watching. Now go open that savings account.